This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
Boy, do I have a treat for you today. Caramel cupcakes. It's a simple little yellow cake, but then it has real caramel that you make and then whip up to make the frosting. So the first thing we do is we get our 12-cup muffin pan, because this recipe makes 12 caramel cupcakes, and we line each of the wells with one cupcake liner. Now next we're going to get our dry ingredients together. So we're first going to start by measuring 1 3/4 cups of flour, and we're going to put that just in a small bowl. And then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Now that's it for the dry ingredients, so just take a whisk and mix that together. Now in a small bowl, let's get 3 eggs, and we'll crack those and get them ready so that we can add them into the batter when it's time. Then to the eggs, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And then we're going to head over to the mixer and we're going to put in 1/2 cup of softened butter, and we're going to get it kind of creamed up. And then we're going to get a cup of sugar, and we're going to add that to the butter. And you'll notice I'm just gradually adding that sugar to the butter. It helps it incorporate and get nice and creamed together. Next, I'm going to be getting my eggs and vanilla, and I'm going to put the eggs in one at a time. And you'll notice I let it mix a little bit after each addition. And then once I've got the eggs in, I'm going to get my flour, and I'm going to add about 1/3 of the flour. And then I've got 1/2 cup of milk, and I'm going to add a little splash of that. And then I'm going to go back and add some more flour. And you kind of go back and forth with the flour and the milk until everything is in the mixer and it's nicely mixed together. You don't see any streaks of flour. Then I always like to get my spatula, just give it a final mix down, and then it's time to start scooping the batter into our muffin tins. Now I go through and give everyone 1 scoop of batter with my medium-sized cookie scoop, and you'll find that fills it up about halfway. But with these cupcakes, you actually want to fill them about 3/4. So what I do is once I give everybody a pass with 1 scoop of the batter, then I go back and I give everybody like about 1/2 scoop until the wells are filled up about 3/4 of the way through. Then once I've got all the batter used in the 12 muffin wells, I go ahead and put the tray in a preheated 325-degree oven. And because this is a little bit not quite as hot an oven as I normally cook them at, this takes about 25 minutes to cook these cupcakes through. Now you'll notice after 25 minutes, this is a very lightly colored cupcake, which is what we're going for. And what I do is I pull them out of the oven, and then I get a toothpick and I poke one of in the middle. And once it comes out clean, then I know it's ready and it's cooked all the way through. And I let them sit there for about 5 minutes on the rack. Then after 5 minutes, I take a fork and I pull them out of the cupcake wells, and they're sturdier. The cake has cooled just a little bit, and I can get them out onto a rack. And it's really important then, you need to let these cupcakes cool all the way through before you can frost them. So that may take, up to an hour or so before you can go ahead and start making your frosting. Now, this frosting is very unusual. You're going to want to take a medium-sized saucepan and put in 1.5 cups of brown sugar. Then you're going to put in a tablespoon of corn syrup, and this is really important. This is what keeps the caramel pliable. Then 2 tablespoons of butter, just a pinch of salt, 5 tablespoons of heavy cream, and a teaspoon of vanilla. That all goes into the pot on a medium heat, and you just take a stainless steel spoon, that's very important, and just start mixing it together. And it won't take too long at all in that brown sugar will melt and it will start to bubble. When it starts to bubble, you put the cover on for just 1 minute. And then once the timer goes off, you pull the cover off, and you want to get an instant read thermometer, because what we're trying to do is get this caramel up to 238 degrees, or what they would call softball stage. And I keep a little piece of parchment by the stovetop, because the caramel can be really sticky and it doesn't stick to the parchment. So once I get it to about 238, I go ahead and I pull it off the stove, and I want to make sure that my mixer is ready to go, because I take this boiling hot mixture and I put it into my mixer with the stainless steel wire whisk. That's really important. And I get it starting to whisk. Now, what you've just done in a matter of about 3 or 4 minutes is you have made caramel. And with that little bit of cornstarch, it's pliable caramel, which is really nice. And then by putting it into the mixer and getting it to whisk, we're starting to cool the caramel down. We're getting air mixed into it. And then pretty soon it starts to look like frosting, kind of like this. And that's what this frosting is about. No powdered sugar, nothing like that. Then what you do is on your cooled cupcakes, you can take your caramel. I use a little offset spatula, and then I go ahead and dip it in and start to coat the top. Now, if, for example, while I'm coating it, if I find that it starts to seize up on me a little bit, I have that little cup of water there. And the thing I do is I take that little bit of hot water and I just put a few drops in, and then pretty soon I use my little spatula and kind of stir it in. It comes back to being its creamy self again. It's really the most amazing thing I've ever seen, but this is what you do. And I actually had to do this a couple of times while I was frosting the cupcakes, because as the caramel would start to cool, it would start to get a little bit stiff on me. But once I added just a few drops of the hot water, no problem. I could go back and, frost the top of the cupcakes with this nice, smooth caramel. Now you'll find this is just about the right caramel to frost each of the cupcakes, and look at how shiny they are. It's really, really neat looking, and it tastes like really high quality caramel. The great part is once you get these cupcakes frosted, the caramel stays looking like this. It gets kind of hard, but not super hard. That cornstarch keeps it nice and pliable so you can easily bite into it. Well, these caramel cupcakes are the perfect mix of a great, delicate yellow cake with that wonderful caramel frosting. I love caramel, and I thought these were just tremendous. Now, if you want the recipe, just go to our website. I'll see you next time.